Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Six Figure Soul Summit, Doing Good and Making Money. I am your host, Camille Miller, and the founder of the Natural Life Business Partnership, a global community for soul-centered entrepreneurs. Today, I am interviewing someone special, Kaya Peters, who is visiting us from Dubai. Hi, Kaya. She is a yoga teacher trainer, a fashion designer, a business coach, and I'd like to say serial entrepreneur. Thank you, Kaya, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, so I met Kaya through Facebook. She had posted about having this fantastic year with a picture of herself. And I was like, hey, do you want to be in my summit, my Six Figure Soul Summit? So that was really around your yoga business. So why don't you tell us about your multiple businesses, and then I'll dive in and ask you some questions.
Sure. Okay. So my first business is indeed a yoga business. I found this business on my biggest passion that I discovered in my early 20s, which is yoga. And I realized that yoga is such a powerful tool to help people. So I found a school and I basically train teachers in the yoga industry. But it's about so much more than yoga. And then I also have an online platform for heart-centered entrepreneurs. So I teach people all the ins and outs of starting a successful and financially rewarding brand in which they don't have to abandon their own values. And basically build it on their passion. And then I have a clothing brand, which I found myself. And I also have like several kind of investments, I would say investments. I don't know if that counts as business, but I like to really expand as much as I can, dip into as many markets as possible, explore as many passions as possible. And obviously I'm also very passionate about being abundant. And making good money with everything that I do, and I teach people that as well. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. Yeah.
I love it. I love how well-rounded it all is too. So you started with your yoga school, I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly. That was my first business.
Yeah, and how long ago was that?
I started about 6 years ago in Dubai with my actual school, and before that, I was like quite successful as a private instructor. But that became a very draining profession for me, running around, teaching, always trading my hours for money. So I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. And I found my brand, my school, trained a team, and now I'm basically just managing it and coming in when I want to. Funny thing is that I absolutely love teaching still until today. So I actually really like showing up in my own school. But it's amazing to have a brand, a business, which does the same work that I used to do for people without my involvement and makes me much more. And it still changes so many people's lives.
And do you feel it like serves your purpose just as well as when you were physically doing it, or more so?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also feel that because of that, I can diversify as well, because I realized that, for instance, in the yoga and wellness industry, there's so many people who struggle making money. So then I said, okay, I'm going to actually set up a course in which I teach people that aspect of, okay, now I found my passion, I invested in it, I'm educated in it, but now how am I going to turn it into a profession in which I don't abandon myself? So that's another thing. And then clothes, of course, making clothes is for me a very purposeful career, making women feel good about themselves. I know that a lot of women struggle with body image, so my brand is all about, women of different shapes and sizes and backgrounds, all being able to wear certain things. So I love that. Yeah, it's amazing.
So how did the clothing brand come in? So did that came in after your yoga was successful?
Yeah.
And then how did you just decide, I think I'll go into be a fashion designer?
It's a really weird story, and I promise you, some people might not believe it, but I was really guided to it, because when I was younger, I always wanted to be an actress or a designer. I wanted to do something with arts. And then life took me in a completely different direction, partly because of some things that I went through when I was younger. So I went on this big spiritual journey and then made my career out of yoga. But that desire to do something really creative never left me. And then, when I was here in Dubai a few years ago, I was making pretty good money with my school, and I was like getting a bit, I felt like that wasn't my only purpose. And I asked for a vision, and then I really was guided towards fashion. I got all these messages from the universe saying, you really have to pursue this fashion design career. And I'm not schooled in it in any way. So I went and took a course at one of the famous fashion institutes. I went to Istanbul, took a course, and then I just started. I just did it. Yeah, I just did it.
So do you design all your own clothes as well? You
So
design and have them made?
Yeah, so I basically come up with the designs, but I have someone who draws the technical drawings for me, because I'm obviously not schooled in that, and I'm also not going to take the credit for it. So she helps me. She's amazing, but it's my my vision, yeah, how I want it to look. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I started it with my production in Istanbul, because one of my dreams also was to be able to live in different countries at the same time. So I have my yoga school in Dubai and Bali, and I have my clothing production in Istanbul. So, and then I have my property that I bought in Thailand. So basically I go between those 4 places all the time. So Dubai is my main home, and then Istanbul second, Bali and Thailand third.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so interesting. I'm just curious, where did you grow up? Like, where is your home?
In the Netherlands. I grew up in the Netherlands, but I knew when I was very young that I wanted to leave, and I knew that I wanted my life to be built on travel and to live in different places, and I managed to make it happen. So yeah. That
is incredible. Can I ask, what did you do before yoga? Oh, you said you were an independent. You did yoga, but it was independent. So you were kind of more stuck where you were.
No, I think I was lucky to discover my life purpose when I was really young. So I went through a lot of really difficult hardships when I was in my young years and teenage years. And they caused me to be in very addictive and destructive behaviors and heavy depression. And I went for a search because of that. And that's when I was introduced to yoga, and that was in my early 20s. And that I really felt like that was my purpose. Like I had like a major awakening in my early 20s, and I pursued that purpose. So, but during my yoga education, I was working as a cleaner. I was managing houseboats where tourists used to come and stay in Amsterdam. I was doing lots of stuff. I also worked in finance. So I did things to pursue my passion, but I started working for myself from the age of 26.
Wow. Yeah. That's an incredible story. So one of the things I always like to highlight in the summit is the background, that it wasn't easy for everyone. Can you touch on any setbacks that might have happened along the way? So during my business, you mean? Yeah. Well, I moved to the UAE when I was 28, so it's 8 years ago, without money. I had nothing when I moved here. It was just on a whim, because I lived in Portugal and I was like this hippie yogi, and I was living in my van. So I was just living the life, you know, and one day I realized that that was not going to bring me a sustainable future. So I chose to move to the UAE, but I came with nothing. And when I say nothing, I really mean nothing. I had no money whatsoever. And I stayed on people's couches for 3 months, and I had to establish myself as a teacher. I didn't have a visa. I didn't have friends. I didn't have money, no backup. And those first 2-3 years were very, very, very difficult. I would not want to do it ever again, but I learned a lot from it, and I became very, very strong and self-reliant because of it. And I also learned that having no money is never an excuse not to start, because I started my business from scratch. So that was obviously a difficulty. And then I also had a business partner who screwed me over. So in the beginning, I was quite naive. I was always about helping people, because I never received that help when I was a young girl. So whenever I saw someone with potential, I was like, oh, let me help you. So what I did, I made someone a partner in my company, and she ended up lying and basically cheating me. So that was a big setback, and it took a lot of time for that to exit my life. But again, I learned a lot from it. I learned how to set boundaries. I learned to make proper contracts. I learned a lot of stuff. So yeah, those I think were my two main setbacks. Yeah. So I hear that you're finding a lesson even in your setbacks. Of course. I mean, otherwise, you know, if I learned from it, and I didn't know things before. Yeah. 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 So you've had a couple times you've mentioned the universe or divine guidance, or so tell us how important like the spirit or your belief system is in creating your own business.
Yeah, it always sounds so abracadabra, right? I think for a lot of people, because I think, most of the time business people, they just want to talk about numbers, business plans, strategies, what did you plan, etc., etc. So I have a very different viewpoint on this stuff. I believe that I'm always guided, and that whenever I am looking for answers, I need to tune into myself, my inner self, and to my connection to God. And I'm not religious in that sense. Like, I don't believe in necessarily in religion, but I am very connected to a higher power and a higher purpose. So I feel that my purpose was God-given. It was given to me by by certain experiences in life. I have been able to help a lot of people because of it. So I always live in this kind of like, how can I say, back and forth between what I want to create and then universal consciousness or God or whatever you want to call it is there to help me and support me. So that's how I approach my business. I don't think I've ever wrote a business plan or made any calculations. I just know how to set my energetic minimums. I know how to focus on the abundance that I want to create. I know the purpose that I have and what I want to bring out into the world. And that whole mix together always helps me to achieve my goals. And I've never really failed in achieving my financial goals.
That's beautiful.
Strangely enough. Yeah.
Yeah. But it sounds like you have a lot of allowing. So the audience that's listening to this all is very heart-centered and very soul-centered, right? And that's what we're trying to show, that when you follow your purpose, follow your divine guidance, you can lead. So I don't ever have a business plan either. At least it's not written, but I have a vision of where it's going. And exactly. I do believe that the steps are shown to me along the way. So
yeah, I feel exactly the same. Yeah.
And scaling was the same way for me. So as I started to scale, it's scary, very scary sometimes, because you have to take big leaps, or when you're starting to all of a sudden get a payroll and, all these people on board and you're like, whoops, it's scary, but I think it's that belief system that it's all going to be okay. All going to be okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I always believe that.
So what do you think is the biggest game changer for you in growing your business, or your business is? Because you keep adding on to them as well.
Yeah, so every year I expand a new market. That's one of the things that I have in my yoga business. I expand a new market every year. So I started in Dubai, then I expanded Abu Dhabi the next year, then I expanded to Bali, and then I was supposed to expand to Thailand last year, but that didn't work. So then I expanded to an online school. And now next year I'll do Egypt. So I always add a new market, and I am continuously training people to do my job. So every single teacher training, I take someone on board as a protege, and I train them to basically be an assistant teacher on the course. So that's really, I think the game changer in my business is that I train people that really want to do that. So they're dying for a change in their life. I give them that opportunity, and then they end up being the most loyal and amazing employees that one can ever have. And one game changer in my business also is that I hardly have any fixed costs. So when I run teacher trainings, I rent locations and I make really good agreements with the locations, and they're long-term. But if I don't run them, I don't have costs. And the same with my teachers. They are not on a payroll. They're all freelance. It's a freelance team, but they've been with me for years because of that loyalty. Like, it's a team of friends almost, right?
Yeah,
so
beautiful.
I think that's a game changer. And I think also energetically, what I have learned is that to employ people in jobs and to pay them a shitty salary for something that they actually don't want to do, I think karmically is not the best thing to do. So I believe in empowering people, giving them opportunities, training them, growing them, paying them accordingly, and at the same time, having my business benefit from that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's beautiful, because you're caring about the people that you're employing.
I do. And some of the people, oh my God, the first girl that I trained, she ended up opening up her own school as well in Bali. So I also don't go into this competition consciousness in the sense that, you know, people can do whatever they want, but there are some agreements. But as long as it's not a direct matching program, she became so successful with her own brand. And that's amazing to see that people just really grow so much. And we're still working together. Every month she runs one of my trainings. So there's also no competition there. It's just growth, growth, growth. How can we grow together?
That's beautiful. So it's collaboration, which I do think, especially this post-COVID time, I don't know how post we are, but it's all about collaborating, right? And being a part of everyone else's world. Right? That's why I do the summit from all over, because I want people to hear other people's stories so they could take what they need out of it and grow whoever they are with purpose.
Big time, big time. And I've even gone as far as moving in with one of my friends, because during COVID lockdown, I realized I do not want to live alone anymore. Community is the future. So sharing with other people who are like-minded, helping each other grow. For me, it's definitely the way forward. I don't want to be only an individual anymore. I want to have, you know, I want to have lots of love and lots of togetherness and lots of support around me in my business, in my personal life, everywhere. Yeah.
That's so beautiful.